The forecasters are predicting a busy Atlantic hurricane season in 2020. The latest forecast from the National Hurricane, Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, predicts a likely range of 13 to 19 named storms, of which 6 to 10 could become hurricanes. The forecast includes 3 to 6 major hurricanes, and when we say major hurricanes, we mean Category 3 or higher. In fact, there have already been 2 named storms even before the season has officially begun. And we have seen Arthur and Bertha. So you can see that there is a strong likelihood for an above normal season in terms of hurricane and storm activity. All committees of the Council and parish disaster committees that were already activated and engaged in the COVID-19 response need to remain on high alert for the hurricane season. The OPM, that has national responsibility for disaster response, must ensure that adequate relief resources are in place to respond to any eventuality, and that arrangements are made to procure additional supplies. The government is moving to strengthen the capacities of the municipal corporations with adequate supplies. Shelter operations are of particular importance to the government, given the COVID measures of social distancing and the potential for the spread of the virus and the impact on the most vulnerable in our society. And when we say the most vulnerable, we're talking now about our older citizens and our citizens that have comorbidities, certain illnesses, particularly diabetes, hypertension, obesity. Municipal corporations and other response actors at the local level must accelerate the re-inspection of shelters. And I know Minister Mackenzie has been doing this and is spending quite a bit of time and effort to ensure that our shelters are up to date, including regular sanitization of the shelters and ensuring that they are properly equipped. I saw one video posted on social media of someone who had to use the shelter, commending the government and in particular you, Minister, for putting in place these provisions. But when it comes now to having hurricanes and having to deal with a pandemic at the same time, a pandemic such as COVID-19, then it complicates the issues. And so we have to be prepared, properly prepared for that. And I believe, Minister, that we have to do far more training and education of our shelter managers so that they understand how to cope with treating with persons coming in during a hurricane and at the same time maintaining the various orders and requirements under the pandemic. And this would include ensuring that these shelters have isolation areas, that if it became the case that you suspected or confirmed that someone who is homeless who would need to use the shelter is ill or has the COVID-19 and they are not able to be taken from that facility to a health facility, then at least you would have the provision locally within the facility for isolation. Protecting our most vulnerable remains the priority of the government for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, and the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, with portfolio responsibility for disaster risk management, must continue to engage and ensure all necessary measures are taken. Special guidelines for shelter operations and emergency operations are being finalized by OPM and the Ministry of Health and Wellness and will be provided to all relevant entities. I am directing all entities to ensure their continued heightened readiness and preparedness actions following the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Wellness and OPM. The National Emergency Operations Center will continue its coordination role to facilitate a whole-of-government approach, including our private sector and NGO partners. Each parish emergency operations center, ministry and agency emergency operations center is directed to activate 24 hours in advance of a pending storm or hurricane and coordinate activities with the OPM or the National Emergency Operating Center. COVID-19 has tested our emergency systems and response readiness. The government applauds our frontline workers and emergency management personnel for their hard work and dedication under the most challenging circumstances. Like we have done for the pandemic, our strategy must be to anticipate, plan, and prepare for the threat, and not to panic. And let me repeat that, and not to panic.